Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Revelation from the Word. So, today I want to talk to you about what is communion, or why do we take communion? Growing up, we could only participate in taking communion if we were a certain age and become a member of our church. And the interesting part is we all drink out of the same cup, which was always kind of fascinating to me. But isn't it interesting that there's so many different churches do it different ways? Some take little wafers and little cups. Some take grape juice, crackers. You can do communion in any way. The whole point is a symbolic act of what Christ did, right? But what if we don't fully understand what communion actually is and what it means? Let's take a look at it to see if I can share a different revelation of what it could mean in the body of Christ. I know even the Catholics, they believe that communion is the actual body of Christ and the blood of Christ. So very, very interesting, right? In 1 Corinthians 11:24 and 25, Jesus said, "Take, eat, this is my blood, or this is my body, broken, which is broken for you." Interesting, right? "Do this in remembrance of me." In verse 25, he says it again. He says, "In the same manner, he also took the cup after supper, saying, 'This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me.'" There's so much here. Let's see if we can unpack just a little bit. What is he referring to? What's Paul using this? When you go back to verse 17 through 22, Paul reminds the Corinth church what they knew but had denied it by their actions. Back then, in that culture, when the host would host, let's say, a cookout or a feast, then people would come, and the wealthy would always show up early, and they would feast and eat, and by the time the poor got there, there was no food left. And Paul got frustrated. He goes, "Listen, you know better than this. This is not about the wealthy and the poor. This is about coming together and being unified as one body." In verse 25, it says, "The cup was taken after supper." Interesting. So there wasn't a little piece of bread and a little bit of wine taken together. No, the bread represented something. It represented fellowship. Paul was reminding them what communion looks like. Breaking bread meant fellowship. Jesus said, "Take, eat. This is my body, which is broken for you." What did he say? He took a loaf of bread and he said, "This is exactly what's going to take place. I'm going to break my body so that your body, the church, can become whole." When we take communion, the Lord is inviting us into oneness and unity. There's so much more there. Let's see if we can unpack a little bit more. But in the meantime, I want to see what exactly does the word communion mean. It means partnership, social intercourse, meaning communications between people as they spend time together, fellowship, association, a group of people organized for a joint purpose. What is the point here? We need each other. I just witnessed a lady on the street 2 days ago that I ran into her, and I just shared Christ with her, and she began to weep. And she wept for like 10-15 minutes. And she said, "No one likes me. No one wants me. I am useless. I don't know why I live." And I just listened to her for probably 5 minutes, didn't even respond. Finally, I felt the Lord saying she's a grandma. And I said, "Are you a grandma?" And she said, "I am. And even my own kids take my grandkids from me. And it's the hardest thing in the world." And I said, "I will be honest with you." I said, "You cannot live without each other. You need community." And I said, "I want to invite you to come and join a community group that we're doing, coming together and doing a cookout. And then we have our pastor is actually sharing the gospel, explaining what is the gospel." And I said, "I'd love to have you come and join us." So I got her number, and we've been texting since to remind each other that I'll be picking her up on Wednesday night. So looking forward to it, connecting her with community. What does the word covenant mean? In verse 25, he says, this cup is the new covenant. So what is a covenant? In the Old Testament, let's see what the Old Testament says so we can understand the New Testament. Benny Johnson says it best in her communion book. She says, when two individuals were cutting a covenant, the rituals included taking a sacrificial animal and dividing the animal into two pieces. The two parties then walked through the scattered carcass, swearing an oath of allegiance in the midst of the path of blood. Essentially, the two parties were making a public declaration that it would be preferable to be like the dismembered animal beneath their feet than to break the promise. That is crazy. Incredible, isn't it? The new covenant. What is the new covenant? A contract. This is a contract that Jesus made with us. The testament, which means a will. The last wishes of a person for the distribution of their property after death. Jesus was reminding us the covenant that we have with him to do with each other. The importance to remember, to remind ourselves when we come together to fellowship, break bread, and then take communion to remind ourselves what the blood did for us to get us access back to the Father. The bread symbolizes the unity of believers as the body of Christ, the church. Again, the bread is a representation of believers coming together in unity to fellowship and remind each other who they are and what Christ did for them. He was broken so that we can become whole as a body, not individuals, as a body. In Isaiah, it was prophesied that his body became unrecognizable so that the body of Christ becomes recognizable. In verse 30, he says, for this reason, many are weak and sick among you, and many die. That weak and sick means they have no more strength. They can't go on because they're doing life alone. We're never meant to do life alone. Communion was always designed to come together, break bread, fellowship, get to know each other, carry each other's burden. If there's a need, we take care of it. We have come a long ways from that. I feel like the church, as a global church, we have not been doing our job in connecting, doing life together, and reminding what the blood did for us. Jesus paid a price for us to walk into victory, and we can't do it alone. We'll never do it alone. Isolation will kill us. You can't do it alone. Today, I want to encourage you, whatever you're facing, go find a friend, not to gossip, but find a friend and share your heart and lay it or work or do it together. And then take communion to remind each other, take the blood and remind each other what Jesus did for us, to break that separation, that we come together and become one through the finished work of Jesus. I like what John Wolvert and Ray Zook say in their commentary. What if communion is a reminder to not carry any offense with another person? The body of Christ. To sin against another brother is to sin against Christ himself. Thank you for watching. And I want to encourage you, the next time you take communion, be reminded that it's about fellowship, becoming one, the body of Christ. Paul says in the very next chapter, 12, that the body of Christ, the gifts that were given to us, were actually not for ourselves. It's for the edifying of the body of Christ. No one can do it alone. We need each other. The body of Christ, we must come together in order to empower the kingdom and advance the kingdom. The only way forward. I'm encouraging you, if you've been offended by someone, take time to go reconcile and make things right. Jesus Christ is for you, not against you. The blood is enough. Thank you for watching, and I bless you. See you next time.